Hello, welcome. This is Access Astrology. We are three astrologers who get together every week and look at the sky and look at how it's expressing in our lives and all around us. I have a hoarse throat this evening.
Hmm.
You can hear that. I also have a broken toe. Yeah,
Oh no, how did that
yeah.
happen?
It was about 10 days ago. I must have slammed into something.
Oh,
I don't know what.
and
But
well, that starting about 10 days ago, the Mars Pluto conjunction that was exact on, let me see, I've got the chart up here, and we're going to be pulling up the charts one by one because I came screaming in from the a trip. I'm driving down to New Mexico from Montana. So I just hit
good.
motel in Utah in time for this. So last week, May 25th, there was that Mars Pluto square, and that
Yeah,
we set off so many accidents, tempers, little relationship snafus, but also um, it, the explosions around the world. And I'm sorry that it caused
yeah.
you to break your toe. How did that happen?
It was enough of an accident that I don't remember for sure.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
But could have I could have
you
slammed
did.
into any furniture or something. And a lot of
Uh,
times, when I stub my toe or a finger, I don't think anything of it. It's just like, oh, that's going to hurt for a little while. It's usually not a break. And this is a non-displaced break, so
Good. Is it
um,
on your foot? I mean, it's just
yeah,
very painful when that happens. I've broken my
yeah,
toe twice, and when someone
yeah.
picked up a metal chair and put it down on top of my toe.
Ooh,
Yeah. So,
yeah,
but it usually takes about 6 weeks to heal, and that is a bit tricky for
good.
you.
Well, you saved the rest of us from the Mars Pluto square. When
And
anyway,
so,
this is you're Heather Roan Robbins. I'm Mark Waltz. And Ann Ortley normally is with us. We'll see if she shows up this evening. She might be trying to get on. It was a little difficult connecting, but here we
mm,
are. And
and
you're
yeah.
on the road to New Mexico.
I am, and it's been interesting to watch so many odd things that are going on. I'm going to bring up today's chart, but it's going to just taking me a minute. I've got everybody loaded up. We've got two clients that we'll be talking about later on. As soon as I can get everything in place. So, how are you seeing the astrology of this week unfolding in today in the news this last week or in your life, besides the sore throat? Have you noticed
Yeah,
anything in?
I didn't catch too much of the news today, but we should be hearing something about Venus square Saturn.
Mhm.
And coming up Sunday is a full moon in 9 Sagittarius.
And yeah, and that
And
will be, um, and this should be today. I'm
nope,
hoping it is. Good. Nope, that's a
nope,
different
nope.
chart. That's somebody else.
Different.
Okay, I understand. That's a chart for later, but I
Yeah.
just had it misnamed, and I'm going to have that. When we seeing, we also see the Mercury Neptune square coming up, which I'm already
Yeah.
experiencing. But
Yeah.
uh,
It's
and and I'm trying to get the remove that. I was looking at the Jupiter in Leo chart for later on in this month, but I want to come back to this Mars Pluto square while we're working on it, on
yeah.
getting the rest of the charts up. So I'm noticing, that we. I think the Mars Pluto square with Jupiter heading into Leo is one of the funnier examples of what we've seen as far as this uh, yeah, the they say they're building a cage for a martial arts, a mixed martial arts battle or a cage fight on the White House lawn, and that just seems to be to me so incredibly bizarre. But it
Well,
is. what they're doing.
They could get creative and have it be Donald Trump versus who's the guy in Iran.
Oh yeah, that would be
Where the
wonderful.
rest of us all
Hmm.
just
Hmm.
put the two of them in the cage,
Hmm.
see who comes out the winner.
And so when we see that to, you know, there's still all of this energy. What I'm noticing is that since Saturn and Neptune went into Aries, we've seen so much more of Mars aspects are taking a lot of intensity these days because Mars disposes that Saturn and Neptune. And so it's today, and so whenever I see these Mars aspects, I see it picking up uh, and
Yeah, because
intensity
the
building.
energy of all the aspects flows
Mhm.
out through Mars. So
Yeah.
things get worked up, something's happening by opposition or square, and then Mars picks it up and does something with it.
And another aspect that I wanted to bring up, one of the pieces that worries me, this summer we have that lineup of three planets in four planets at 4 degrees in mid-July. The
Yeah.
only one that really scares me on that one is that Jupiter opposed Pluto. And one of the things that I have seen in when I went back to look at the Jupiter opposed Pluto, that was the last time there was an Ebola outbreak. And I was worried about the Ebola outbreak this time with that coming up. This is the
Mm.
day, the new Ebola outbreak. This is the first death on the Ebola outbreak that had worried me with that. I remember that day or that era because there's a lineup of planets in Aries right near my moon. But that's, we see it's a fever, it's a hemorrhagic fever. So it's bursting, that all that fire behind it, I think, really expanded it quickly. The sun
Mm.
was square Pluto that day. It formed a T square with the moon, but that's not unusual to have the sun and moon square, but they were squaring Pluto in the process, the first
Yeah.
death. And then it's because that death was mishandled and not recognized because it was from unusual source. It seems to have come from the bats and come into the people. We had an unusual amount of problems with this. So we'll see how that what's working, how that goes. And I would say that when you see and it's a fixed T square, so that the tendency is for it to hold on and to be a problem for a while, which had worried me. And it's I'm hoping that the next aspects can move into a good way. And we have to be careful with those. That
Yeah.
it's not a time to take any health issues lightly with that combination. There's so much possibility for breakthrough, so much excitement, so much positivity as this world shifts. But the world is changing so radically as all these planets move into this position. It's going to be the beginning of, I think it's 15 different Uranus Pluto trines, and that Uranus Pluto trine can bring some in real intensity in transformation. I've gone back every time, everything from the Gutenberg Bible on down. When there's a major technological leap ahead, you see that that Uranus Pluto trine and this change of technology, and we'll see how what that happens. We know the mess that AI is making of our world and the tech centers, but it might also help bring in some breakthroughs as far as health is concerned, and hopefully something that can come in and help us uh, deal with things like an Ebola outbreak or any other pandemic as our world gets so crowded. So those are some of
We
my
can hope
hopes.
that Venus brings something into that
Hmm.
trine.
And
She's
when do you
sitting
see
right next
that?
to.
Mhm. And we would like that.
Yeah.
Um, and I wanted to say, I would this next. I wanted to look at Ryan's chart, and Ryan had sent us in some questions. So let's take a look at his chart. I'm trying not to download it, silly. I'm trying to put it on the screen. And slides from my computer, yes. Now, we're going to do only 2 charts tonight. I want to take a look at them, and then next week we'll hopefully do 2 more, and Anne will hopefully be there with us that time. And I will be also speaking from the road then, but I will work to get into my motel just a few minutes earlier than I did this time. And open. Now I'm going to ask you to take a look at his questions. He didn't have any particular questions. He just wanted to look at his chart and say what we thought. So I'm going to take a look at it. And with this, he was like one of the first times he'd watch this, and he's just being fascinated by how the astrology is unfolding. Now, when I look at anybody's chart that I'm looking at these days, I look for what is being set off in those first 4 degrees of the chart from 0 to 4, because they're being, that's the chord that's being set off at the moment. And he has a Mars in the 7th house, natally square that moon. It's a separating square, but it's there. And a lovely Venus-Pluto trine in his natal chart. So I'm seeing more aspects happening to that Mars, and it may be somehow learning to be, he's got that wonderful mutable Mars, Venus, Jupiter conjunction, all in mutable signs with the mutable moon up at the top of the chart, and a wonderful storytelling Mercury in Leo conjunct Saturn. He's good at telling stories. He's good at becoming what other people need. It can be very tactful, but it can be a little bit of a people pleasing. Like, in order to survive his childhood, it looks like he could be a bit of a chameleon. But it also makes him a very good diplomat and really good at reading other people and reaching them, because he can figure out the language automatically that they need to hear him. It's just he has to really know himself to make that work for him. Otherwise, it can feel a little bit like he changes too much to fit other situations.
Yeah, it can be hard to keep your balance with that.
And what would
When you look at his chart, if you let each of the planets be a person in the room, it's a really busy room. And some things are happening that make you laugh, and some things make you say, "Whoa, wait a minute, that's too much."
Mm-hmm.
So.
And what would you say that would work? What would help him on that?
Sticking to a thread. There's a thread that he tends to lose.
Mm-hmm.
It's true, he's a good storyteller, but
Mm-hmm.
it can be difficult for him to keep the thread all the way through.
I think when he's got that Mercury Saturn can give real mental stick-to-itiveness. It can give you really mental stability once you get yourself moving in that direction. But the last 2 years, his progressed moon has been in Gemini, which is natural to him, but it's been buzzy and helping him make some important changes. But I'd like to see him, if he can take time away from people and just come back to himself, if it gets too crazy around him, or come back to himself and do a personal version of a vision quest, do some way of following where he's going and what's important to him. And then all of that ability to mutate to fit, then the ability to be an unusual person. I mean, he has Uranus in the 12th house, and sometimes that can mean feeling different from the people around you while you were growing up, amongst other things. Neptune in the first house, that ability to change to fit the situation and really get your point across. This can be a very charismatic chart. It's as long as he has a deep inner sense of purpose or a deep inner sense of self. And if not, I would ask him to just go looking for that. Do you have any more comments on that chart?
It can be difficult to hold contradictory things together.
Mm-hmm.
So just know when you're in a situation where things are contradictory, you need to be more sensitive to how they can go that's other than your story at first.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful.
It is your story, but you have to make room for others in it.
And he mentions in his letter that his life has been wild since the beginning. And I would say that Mercury in Leo kind of likes it wild, but the moon in Virgo doesn't. And so there's a conflict. I'd say choose your wildness carefully. Give yourself a big stage someplace in the public situation so that you can find that calm and center in the private life. Which I think will be important. And then we're going to look for Amy's chart. And any last advice that you can give on him with that progressed moon coming up to doing some interesting aspects soon?
Yeah. I'm looking for the progressed moon.
It's up here. It's in Gemini, end of Gemini.
Yeah. Mm. Yeah. That'll get things excited around you. You want to use that moon energy. And I would say use it for taking care of yourself.
Yeah. And here is a chart from Amy. And I think that that's a good position for her, that he is kind of really coming into himself, and that enjoy the wildness. Notice the part of you, last comment to Ryan, to enjoy the wildness. Notice what part of you is drawn to the wildness and find a way that you can choose it rather than feel like it just happens to you. And they show here. Oh, and wildness. Another thing about this Mars-Pluto square, I just heard from my mate in Montana that Ren was coming around the corner in our daily walk around our land, and the dog is acting strange and barked and then jumped out, and then this huge bear came out 10 feet from Ren, and Ren ran as fast. The glasses are lost somewhere on that trip. Ran it fast, but we think that he was going after a deer that was a baby deer in the woods, because we think we heard a baby deer afterwards. But Ren got away from the bear. But that was a little exciting this morning. We're hoping that Ren's that while I'm gone, that Ren stays uneaten by bears, and so do the dogs. Yeah. So this is Amy's chart, and Amy had a question for us, and she said the Leo eclipse in 2017 was right on the North Node, and it started a wild journey. And that's when something hits your North Node, it often calls you in to one of your purposes in life. It can be a bit of it's also opposing your South Node. So it's how do you come out of an old triggered position and start on the next part of your journey. Soon after that eclipse, she started developing a theory that would eventually take over the life. And so I went back to school because Uranus was involved. It took me longer than usual that summer to get through it. For almost a decade, I've been reading academic journals and learning to understand the science around the theory. It doesn't line up with dogma, but it says, I believe that the reason equine therapy works is because horses produce a pheromone that they use with each other, which communicates belonging or friendship and goodwill. With a horse, we benefit from that pheromone, and it calls our HPA axis, the fight or flight part of our brain. I based my research on what could be used to create a spray that'd be non-invasive way of pulling someone out of a panic attack or with a flashback. That's a really interesting view of what's going on there. And it's on her nodes there. And as she has, Pluto has been trined her ascendant the last couple of years, trined her moon. It's going to come back and tag that moon one more time. Neptune's opposed that moon, so her intuition is working really strongly. And Neptune can be involved with subtle healing theories and subtle healing, being affected by flower essences and herbs and homeopathy. All the subtle and hands-on healing are often related to the Neptunian qualities. She has Mercury and Pisces in the house of health. That would bring out that side of her natally. And she has her progressed moon is in the ninth house and in Gemini. So it's a really good time for her to put that theory out there and to talk and to be visible with it. The ninth house is how we get our word. It's how we make the world appear bigger through broadcasting, writing, through our metaphysics. How do we get the word out there? How do we expand our world? And with her moon in Gemini for the next 14 months going across the top of her chart, I think we're going to see a good chance for her to speak up, to speak out, to be visible. That Mars conjunct her north node in Leo in the 11th house, that the ability to be a leader or to be visible or to catalyze a group is strong. And she's an Aries moon in Libra. She's built to kind of see what she can do to make this world a better place. Now, Neptune in that opposition to her moon right now, what I found with, again, my tendency is to take a more psychic approach than a pheromone approach, but the pheromones, I think, and the psyche all echo off each other. I know dogs have a sense of contentment when the pack is together and stress when the pack is apart. And that when you sit with dogs and they share their contentment, a snoring dog can make you sleepy. The contentment of being in the pack with the dogs, they share their contentment with you. And the horses, I think, can do that too if they are calm. But it's interesting to know that there's a pheromone that goes with it that I think that would be wonderful. My son used equine therapy when he was born with spina bifida and has muscle tone issues. And they had him riding. I mean, he broke his collarbone once, but most of the time he did really well on it and did him wonders, confidence. And I think you're right that it passed on a sense of you can do this, which is really beautiful. So I know I like to be around horses. I'm not so fond of riding them, but I love being with them. For a while, when we first moved to Montana, the people who had lived there before traded us use of the pastures where their horses had been before, and in return they plowed our road in the wintertime, which was excellent. And I didn't ride those, but we had 3 horses that lived around the house for a while, and just feeding them and spending time with them and smelling them does calm you down, does give a sense of deep heart connection. I think they also communicate psychically with each other intuitively. They have all these ways of sending out their signals and listening to the world around them that they share with you. What do you see here,
Yeah.
Mark, about how that?
You're well set up. You're well set up to be a renegade or someone that has a different take on things, and you don't mind leading the pack in that sense. But what you want to do is learn to stop for a moment and see who's following. It's great to be a leader, but you need followers. And if you're not seeing them, then there's something in your message that needs to be tuned a little finer.
Oh, that's an interesting point. And with Saturn in just over the border in the 12th house, right near the ascendant, it looks like I would ask how your birth was originally. Often Saturn, just in the 12th house, it's the last planet that's risen, can make a delay in the birth or a difficulty in the birth or just a formality in the birth. It may be that the birth was delayed. It could have been it was a long labor, but that often it takes a while for people with Saturn in the 12th house to believe they're ready. Like they keep wanting to stay in school longer, or they want to, they feel like they have to really know their stuff to get out there. It just takes a little longer, and they come to a new town. It takes them a little while to really get a sense of the new town before they get visible. It's just like a slightly delayed birth, but often a very safe birth afterwards. So I would say just kind of notice that this sounds like a really interesting theory. How can you birth that theory and get it out there in an important way? It with your sun in the seventh house and the two healing asteroids in the eighth, there's a good chance that you can find someone who is already big. Like, make sure that you publish it first, like even if it's just online, but you can prove that you wrote about it at a certain time so no one can take your idea and say it was theirs. But that if you work with people that are growing in the business or already doing this work, you can help get the word out, and how they can help you get the work out, because that you're used to working with large personalities and can work well with them, especially around issues of healing. Anything
Yeah.
else to say from that, Mark?
No, just be sure you're the leader that's being followed.
I like that. And it's what to
It's
be
never
the
too
leader,
late to change the message, to
right?
tweak
Or
it.
to say it in a way that you think people can hear it better.
Yeah.
Mhm. And and anything else that you would like to add to that? I'm trying to find
Mm,
one more page and I can't. What is this? Is that today? That's today, finally. I find where it was.
today's chart.
And
Yeah.
I just wanted to bring this chart out. The moon is in Scorpio now. It's going to be a nice weekend with that full moon in Sagittarius. It's going to bring the energy up, get outside, get around people, dance the night away. No one's going to be able to sleep really on Saturday night with the full moon in Sagittarius exact around 2,
That's
3 o'clock
right.
in the morning here out west. It'll be a little bit later back east. But right now, the moon is in Scorpio. It's going to be thoughtful, deep tonight and tomorrow. I'm having a great solo journey traveling, gonna deep thoughts, good Scorpio moon stuff. But and you hear Drek in the news around revenge and suits and countersuits. We worry about that. The whole question of free speech has been strongly in the news, with the sun conjunct Uranus last week and still lingering. Do we have a right to speak the truth? Do journalists have a right to speak their truth and to do it in a way that's safe and sane? So tough questions, and I think it's important conversation that's going on in this Gemini time.
Yeah.
Anything else you'd like to say about today's chart?
No, I'm watching Jupiter because Jupiter's
Yeah,
going to change.
yeah. Jupiter's going to change at the end of the month, end of June. It goes into Leo,
Yeah.
and I'm kind of excited about that. But the Venus Jupiter conjunction between now and then, it was just coming into orb now, because we give bigger orbs to Jupiter because it's bigger than all the other planets put together. But a Venus Jupiter conjunction is often considered the best time to get married. It's happening here in June, perfect, except that it also turns up the volume on our expectations on relationships.
Mm.
So I would ask everybody to be careful not to expect too much out of their love, too much out of their relationships. Keep it in calm enough so that they can make it work. I see that we often have incel crime around a Venus Jupiter connection, or a yeah, anger at women because from somebody who feels unloved. So you often, everybody's talking about sweetness, romance, and art, and somebody goes and shoots all the women at McDonald's. And so just kind of keep an eye on that little bit of anima projection. But let's hope that this time with these stronger aspects around it, that it's safe and it's just a chance for us to come into our heart.
Okay.
Okay. Take us out.
Be ready for the full moon. It's
Yeah.
a good party energy. It should be exciting. New ideas, new people. Go on out and meet them.
Yes, indeed. And if you're in Santa Fe or around Santa Fe, this Sunday I am speaking at the Arc Bookstore in the afternoon, and I'm looking forward to it. Take
Great.
care, and I see you all next week from a different motel.
Okay. Thanks.